很多诸多的不便，而且你可能
This is a cool word, the cool phrase that he said like really quickly. Okay, what is up, homie? So today I want to share a really cool discovery, or not really a discovery, but just something that I've done in the past, but I haven't done in a long time, and I really want to. It's been something that has really made me think a lot about doing it more. It's essentially, I've talked about this before. It's basically recording yourself and listening to it again, and how that really helps you pick up a lot of new things and realize, see new words, realize a lot of things that you say that maybe not correct, or maybe things that you can improve on. Anyways, so some of you guys may know I do this podcast with my friend Tom, 中文好难, which is like Chinese is very hard. It's just a fun thing that we do together once a week. We get to catch up, and also we get to practice our Chinese, and we got a bunch of listeners who really enjoy it. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, then you guys can check it out. You guys might like it. It's a good way to practice getting in some comprehensible input. So anyways, I was listening to some of our past episodes, and this past one that we did with one of Tom's friends, Zhiwei, and we were talking about learning English, him becoming a dad, and how he started becoming a vegan. And we talked about his diet. And during that conversation, I can remember, I generally follow the line of thinking, his general idea. But I remember thinking, there are a bunch of words that he mentioned that kind of just flew past me. But it didn't really affect me too much in terms of like understanding his general idea. And as I feel like as you get better, as you get into that more intermediate and advanced stage, a lot of these idioms and words like you may not immediately get, but through the context, I've spoken about this before, through the context, I feel like you can still gather a lot of information. But because we recorded it, so it's helpful because I can re-listen to it. And I re-listened to this whole podcast again, this whole episode, and I learned so many new words that I didn't realize before, or some of the words I'd saved before, but I just didn't realize it. And that happens all the time. It's like you learn a word, but did you really learn it? Unless you really unless you really like use it and you hear it over and over, sometimes you don't really recognize it while you're talking or while you're in conversation. So I just want to show quickly how, for example, listening to an episode like this, listening to, for example, if you record yourself speaking with, it doesn't have to be a podcast. If you do a language exchange, if you record yourself speaking with your teacher and then listen to it again, and especially if you have a really good language partner or a really good teacher and they don't sort of dumb things down, which luckily our guest in this episode, he spoke to us as he would speak with his friends or with like any native speaker. And so he used a lot of advanced words. And when you re-listen to it again, you'll find that, you can pick up a lot of really interesting words. I'll just show you some examples. Like I picked up so many new words, and actually messaged Tom, and I was like, man, I listed up all the words that I learned. So here, let me just show you an example. Let me just, so I'll play out some of the conversation, and I'll show you guys how I, like, for example, if I hear a new word, how I look it up on Pleco, and I'll show you some of the new words that I learned.
或者让你很感动的事情有哪些？
我觉得就是，当然你说姑且不论说啊，你可能。
So the first time I heard that, I'd even notice he said, I don't even know what that, like, 姑且不论. Like, I only know that after. And I tried to search it on Pleco, like, you can't really find it. But I tried to search it on Google or just on the web, and eventually I found it. But it's essentially 姑且, just basically means tentatively, for the moment. And then it's a combination of two phrases, 姑且, which is tentatively, for the moment, and then 不论. So, to not discuss, to regardless, kind of. So it's kind of a tricky definition, but I've never heard this before, and this is the first time I've heard it. Like as I listened to it the second time, I realized I was like, wait, what is he saying? And so 姑且不论, from my understanding, I think it means like, for example, notwithstanding or without discussing blah blah blah. It's usually used as a in the beginning of a sentence. I think it's usually like a sort of a preface, like saying like, notwithstanding discussing this, without discussing this, blah, 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 blah. So here you can hear him say, 姑且不论. What does he say? Let's hear.
生活很忙碌啊，或者是你必须有很多事情要学习啊。
So he's like, 姑且不论我很忙碌啊，或者要有很多事情要学习。So he's saying like, notwithstanding, being very busy or notwithstanding, having a lot of things that I have to learn. So that's an interesting phrase that I heard that I had not heard before.
这些当然都是，可是我觉得在心境上比较巨大的差别是说，你可能以前没有想过你可以这么的爱一个人，那你会发现爱是好像是没有极限的。当我女儿出生的时候，就是那种觉得她就是我的全世界的那种感觉。但是当她每一天的成长，你看着她一天一天的长大，然后去学习去做不同的事情，然后达到她发展的每个里程碑，然后把她抱在身上。
发长的每一个里程碑。So this is a word that I had learned before, but I hadn't heard used. And this is a cool instance of where you can hear a word used, 里程碑, basically milestone, developmental milestone, like 发展的里程碑. 里程碑 is milestone. So this is a cool word that you guys can look up and check out yourself.
然后跟他讲话，看着他对你的反应，就是你会发现你对他的爱每一天都在增加。那是你没有想象，在你有这样的感觉之前，你不知道说原来可以爱一个人爱到这么多。那这是我觉得是一个让我觉得蛮有感觉的事情。
你身为一个 vegan 是一个对你来说很重要的的一个角色。那我知道 Daniel 还有很多听友可能想要知道你的这个变成 vegan 的过程。那你如果有一些人可能不太知道你们的 stance 是什么，你可以介绍一下。那身为 vegan， 那
这是我在这过程全部都说英文，我要想一下中文。
对，可是我觉得你需要练习，对不对？
对，我需要练习怎么用就是就是在务实的状况之下，我们尽己所能的去减少消费和使用动物性来源的产品与服务。那原因是因为我们认为，在不必要的情况之下去剥削、去滥用、使用。
剥削 exploit 滥用 misuse misappropriate
其他动物是不对的行为。所以那我们如果觉得这样是不对的，那我们就不要去这么做。那所以说在我们日常生活中遇到有剥削动物的行为的时候，我们会尽量去避免。那举凡包含最常见
This is a word that I only learned through this podcast. So 举凡 it means such as, examples including, without exception. So ranging from, this is a cool word that I didn't learn before. So he says 举凡包含 Can listen to that again.
是不对的行为。所以那我们如果觉得这样是不对的，那我们就不要去这么做。那所以说在我们日常生活中遇到有剥削动物的行为的时候，我们会尽量去避免。那举凡包含最常见的就是食物，或者是可能是 clothing， 就是衣服、裤子，就是这些衣装打扮的东西。然后很多像在 NBA， 你不打疫苗，你可能不能出赛，或者是等等，就是你会有很多诸多的不便，而且你可能。
This is a cool word, the cool phrase that he said like really quickly. 诸多不便. This is the first time I heard this, but it sounds like it's a pretty useful phrase. 诸多不便, like basically quite a lot of trouble, rather inconvenient. You can also search 诸多, which basically means a good deal. So 诸多不便 a good deal of trouble, rather inconvenience. It's a cool way to say it. I've never, in the past, I would always say 不方便, but this is a cool way of saying it in a different way. 诸多不便. Anyway, so I don't want to make this video way too long, but essentially, essentially try this out. Like, you should highly recommend recording yourself if you can. Just record and just speak. Just talk to yourself. I do that a lot too. You can talk to yourself. You can talk to a friend, another friend who's also learning Chinese. You can talk to your language exchange. You can talk to a language teacher. Just record it and then listen to yourself. Listen to yourself speak. Listen to the other person speak and see what kind of new things you can pick up. See what kind of mistakes that you hear, pronunciation improvements you can make. And I find that every time I listen back to myself, I find new things that I can improve on. And I find things that other people are saying that I may have missed, definitely would have missed on the first time listening to it, or the first time I'm talking to them. And so highly recommend it. Check it out, and I'll see you guys next time.